The words flickered across my vision like a glitching neon sign, and I froze. In this high-stakes marriage of convenience, I was nothing but a fragile ornament, a decorative weight he couldn't wait to shed. The scrolling text told me he loathed my clinginess. They said my family's new money status made me a joke in his world. They predicted that tonight, the moment he stepped into his office, he would fall for the real female lead at first sight. And me, I was destined to go into a jealous spiral cause a scene at his headquarters and get crushed by a truck. My family would be driven into bankruptcy by his hand shortly after. The tears that had been pricking my eyes suddenly vanished. All those times I cried because he came home late, because he pushed me away, or because he was too rough, it all felt pathetic now. I pulled back from him, forcing my voice to sound like ice. You should go. The office is more important. After all, this easy crier reflex of mine was probably just an annoyance to a man like him. Blake looked up at me, his breath coming in short, jagged hitches. His face was a mess of my lipstick marks, and his wrists were locked in leather restraints. I'd spent half the evening weeping just to get him to agree to this. When I'd handed him the sheer V-neck silk shirt and the cuffs, his expression had been dark enough to swallow the room. I had crumbled immediately, sobbing about how my best friend's husband wore things like this, how he looked powerful and touchable, and how some women just had all the luck. Blake's face had twisted with something like resignation, but he'd put them on. Now his voice was a low, ragged growl. Are you sure you want me to go? His eyes searched mine, hunting for a crack in my mask. I nodded frantically, the sheer intensity of his gaze threatening to trigger my tears again. He went quiet for a beat. Unlock me, he said, his tone turning clinical. I shivered and climbed onto his lap to fumbling with the key, but my mind was a cinema of my own tragic ending. My fingers shook so violently I couldn't find the mechanism. The more I panicked, the more the saw rose in my throat. He let out a heavy breath, his voice softening into something dangerously persuasive. Gwen, if you don't want me to leave, just tell me. There, I gasped, the lock clicking open. I choked back a sob and pressed his dress shirt into his hands. I'll be fine here alone.
Don't worry about me.
Drive safe. Blake paused. He didn't say a word. Maybe he really did find me repulsive now. When he took the shirt, he pointedly avoided letting our fingers touch. He dressed with the efficiency of a man reclaimed by his world. The tailored suit emphasized his broad shoulders and narrow waist. And once he slid his silver-rimmed glasses back on, the wall was back up. He looked distant, untouchable. Don't wait up for me. I forced a bright, hollow smile. Do what you have to do. Blake's jaw tightened. Without another word, he turned and left. The heavy oak door shut with a thud that echoed through the empty penthouse. The dam broke. The tears fell in heavy, silent drops. I dialed my mother, my voice thick with grief. Mom, I want out. I want to end the arrangement. My mother's voice sharpened with concern. What's wrong, honey? What happened? I stumbled over my words. I couldn't tell her that Blake was going to fall for someone else, that I'd be killed by a truck, and that he'd dismantle our family's empire. He doesn't love me, I whispered. There was a long silence on the other end. It's okay, baby, she said eventually. A marriage should be a choice, not a sentence. The Callahan family. Maybe they were always too much for us. I'll talk to your father. Stop crying. Okay. I wiped my face. The bed beside me was already cold. It hurt. The feed in my head was right. My family's wealth had come fast. Too fast. Before I was 7, I was drooling over dollar store corn dogs. Then my dad won a massive lottery, made a few brilliant, aggressive moves in tech, and suddenly we were orbiting the elite of the East Coast. The Callahans, however, were old money, centennial blood. People lined up around the block just for a nod from them. Blake was the golden heir, groomed for the throne since birth, composed, lethal, a man who took over the family conglomerate while most guys were still figuring out their majors. Supposedly, my family had done the Callahans a great favor once. I couldn't remember what it was, and no one would tell me. I never even met Blake until a month ago when he showed up at our house and proposed the alliance. I'd wondered if it was a scam, but all my doubts had melted the moment I saw his face. I was all in. I wanted the man, the myth, the legend. Blake had given me a one-month trial period. He said if I felt it wasn't a fit, we could walk away. At first, I thought he was being considerate. Now, I realized he was just giving himself an exit strategy. 3 days left. Just 3 days until the month was up. To change the script, I spent the night being the perfect invisible wife. I didn't text him to ask if he missed me. I didn't blow up his phone with emergency calls. I didn't send a single emoji. In the morning, assuming he wouldn't be back, I wandered downstairs without a bra, wearing only an oversized tee. "Why are you up so early?" The low, resonant voice made me jump. Blake was sitting on the sofa, a tablet in his hand. He looked up, his eyes sweeping over me, darkening instantly. Heat rushed to my face. LOL. Look at her acting all shy. Is she going to do the clumsy trophy wife act again? Seriously, how old is she? The innocent girl's stick is so cringe. The hero is exhausted from the office and has to come home to this. No wonder he falls for the heroine. Strong women are the future. I dug my nails into my palms. Don't cry. I fought the urge to throw myself into his lap and beg for attention. Instead, I gave him a cool, detached smile.
Couldn't sleep.
You're back. Have some breakfast. Blake set the tablet down, his brow furrowing, his gaze dropped to my feet. The floor is cold. Where are your slippers? It's summer, I mumbled. I'm fine. When I looked up, he was already standing in front of me, standing 2 steps lower on the sunken living room floor.
He was eye level with me.
I could see the faint dark circles under his lashes. He looked weary, edgy. I wanted to kiss the exhaustion right off his face. He reached out to pull me into his arms, a habit from the last few weeks. But then I caught it. The faint, unmistakable scent of a woman's perfume. My fingers curled. I took a sharp, deliberate step back. You should rest. I'm going to go eat. Blake's hand stayed frozen in midair. His eyes turned wintry. A chill ran down my spine. I didn't dare look back as I bolted for the dining room. I didn't see him staring at my retreating back for a long, long time. He didn't stay long. He had to go back to the office. Before he left, he knocked on my bedroom door. I was curled up under the duvet, venting to my best friend, Sherry. I shoved my phone under the pillow like a guilty teenager. Need something? I asked, my voice hitching. I couldn't let him see. Yesterday, he told me to stop listening to Cher's nonsense. If he knew I was currently trash-talking him, I'd be dead. Blake stood there expressionless, his sharp eyes scanning my face before settling on the lump under the pillow where my phone was hidden. He lingered, eyes swallowed hard, my fingertips turning white as I gripped the edge of the mattress.
Blake.
He withdrew his gaze, his face somehow even grimmer than before. I'm heading back.
Call me if you need anything.
Tell Maria what you want for lunch. He paused. I'm leaving now. He was acting strange. He'd said, I'm leaving twice. I just smiled at him. Okay, drive safe. Blake's grip tightened on the door handle until his knuckles turned white. He closed the door behind him. Is the trophy wife actually giving up? I thought she'd beg for a goodbye kiss. Maybe she realized he likes intellectual types and she's trying to play hard to get.
Please.
He's so annoyed. He can barely look at her. If she tried to kiss him, he'd probably shove her off. He's already subconsciously staying pure for the heroine. Integrity is a man's best accessory. My heart felt like it was being soaked in acid. The ache was physical. I fought the tears with everything I had. My phone buzzed. A message from Sherry. Oh my God.
Dump him.
I don't care how hot he is. He's treating you like trash. It's not like you begged for this marriage. It's just a face, babe. With your money, we can find you 10 models. 6 feet 2 inches and abs for days. Guys who actually like you, pick one. Seriously, end it. I'll handle the rest. I bit my lip. Okay, I replied. After I sent it, the weight of the night finally hit me. My eyelids felt heavy and I drifted into a deep, dark sleep. I never saw the photo Sherry sent immediately after. When I woke up, the room was draped in shadows. A single dim lamp was on by the sofa, casting a long, elegant shadow across the floor. Blake was sitting there, the soft light catching the sharp lines of his profile. He looked almost gentle if he ignored the suffocating intensity in his eyes. "Gwen, did you sleep well?" I startled, wondering how long he'd been sitting there in the dark.
Yeah.
I rasped my throat dry. I reached for my phone. It was already plugged in, charging on the nightstand. I swiped the screen. It was a photo of a college-aged guy in a crisp white shirt, looking brooding, handsome, and very much like bait. My face went nuclear. I didn't realize Blake had moved until he was right there, kneeling by the bed, reaching for my bare foot, peeking out from the blanket. I flinched and shoved the phone face down. "Blake, why didn't you wake me up?" My mind raced. Did he see the photo? Would he think I was looking for a replacement already? I searched his face, but it was a mask of exhaustion. "I'll remember for next time," he said quietly. There was a microscopic tremor in his voice. "Are you hungry?"
Dinner is ready.
I looked at him, the feed echoing in my head. He must be so miserable being stuck with me. Even if he saw the photo, he'd probably just feel relieved. I pulled my foot out of his hand and gave him a strange smile. "I'm a grown woman, Blake. I can put on my own shoes." "You don't have to do that," I added. "Thanks, though." Blake's empty hand slowly curled into a fist.
Right. Dinner was excruciating.
Blake didn't talk, and I didn't chirp away with my usual questions about his day. The silence was heavy enough to crush. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Sweetie, your father and I talked. We support whatever decision you make. We just want you to be happy and safe." The tears threatened to return. I didn't want him to hate me more for being a mess, so I sniffled and stood up. "I'm done going to my room." Snap. I looked back. Blake had just laid down his chopsticks. They were snapped clean in two. I froze, instinctively, wanting to check his hands for splinters, but logic stopped me. "Don't be a nuisance, Gwen." I took a shower and felt a bit more grounded. I threw on a new silk slip and stepped out of the bathroom, only to be hit with a visual that stopped my heart. Blake was lying on the bed. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, his silver glasses catching a light. He looked devastatingly handsome, like a trap. I felt a surge of heat. My hand moved toward him, almost against my will. Wait, is the hero actually seducing her? This wasn't in the book. Why does he look like a king trying to reclaim his territory? The original plot says he met the heroine and her boyfriend today. He's probably feeling territorial and taking it out on the wife. He's just practicing his moves. My hand stopped an inch from his shoulder. I reached past him for my phone charger instead. "Blake, I have something to say," I murmured, my voice surprisingly steady. "Let's end the agreement." The silence in the master bedroom stretched so long and thick that the hum of the central air sounded like a roar. Blake didn't move. For 3 endless seconds, he didn't even seem to breathe. The silver frame of his glasses reflected the dim bedroom light, masking the expression in his eyes. But the sudden, terrifying rigidness in his spine spoke volumes. Slowly, deliberately, he sat up. The white shirt creased across his chest, the top 2 buttons undone to reveal the pale skin of his throat. "What did you just say?" His voice wasn't loud. It was low, raspy, and stripped of every ounce of corporate polish. I squeezed my phone charger, so hard the plastic bit into my palm, using the sharp physical pain to keep the traitorous tears at bay. "The 1-month trial period," I said, reciting the rehearsed line while staring firmly at his collarbone instead of his eyes. "There are 3 days left, but we don't need to waste them. You're busy. I'm tired. We both know this isn't working. Let's just end it now." What is she doing? Is she crazy? The heroine hasn't even officially joined the corporate board yet. Wait, look at his hand. Is he actually shaking? LOL. She thinks she's being clever. He's probably going to laugh in her face and hand her the divorce papers himself. I ignored the floating text, fighting down the urge to scream at the invisible audience in my head. Blake stood up from the bed. He was tall, so tall he seemed to swallow all the air in the room, and he took a step toward me. Instinctively, I took a step back until the back of my knees hit the vanity chair. His eyes narrowed, a flash of pure, unadulterated fury breaking through his usual stoic mask. "Tired," he repeated, the word dripping with quiet danger. "You're tired, Gwen. Yesterday, You wept until I let you tie my hands to the headboard. Tonight you won't even look at me because I realized how pathetic I was being. The outburst escaped me before I could filter it. I bit my lip hard, tasting iron, and forced my voice back into a flat, icy cadence. I was forcing something that wasn't there. You don't have to pretend anymore, Blake. I'll pack my things tomorrow morning. My parents already know. A terrifyingly cold smile touched Blake's lips, though his eyes remained utterly dark. Your parents know. Sherry knows. That boy on your phone screen probably knows. He reached out, his thumb catching my chin before I could flinch away. His grip wasn't painful, but it was absolute iron. And when were you planning on telling me, Gwen? After you walked out the door. I'm telling you now, I whispered, my voice trembling despite my best efforts. Please, just let me go with a little bit of dignity. His thumb brushed heavily against my lower lip, tracing the outline where I'd bitten it raw. The heat radiating off his body was overwhelming, carrying that faint, haunting floral scent, the perfume of the woman he was supposed to meet at the office. Dignity, Blake murmured, his voice dropping an octave, sounding dangerously close to a growl. You think this is about dignity? He let go of my chin, so suddenly I nearly stumbled. Without another word, he turned on his heel, grabbed his jacket from the armchair, and walked out. The bedroom door didn't slam this time. It clicked shut with a sharp final snap that felt like a guillotine falling. I didn't sleep a wink. By sunrise, I had packed my 2 suitcases. I left behind all the designer dresses Blake had bought for me, the jewelry that felt too heavy, and the delicate silk robes I had bought strictly to entice him. I kept only what I had brought with me a month ago, my basic clothes, my sketchbooks, and my laptop. Maria, the head housekeeper, looked like she was on the verge of tears as she watched me drag my bags to the foyer. Mrs. Callahan, please. Mr. Blake left strict orders that you aren't to leave until he returns. I'm not his prisoner, Maria, I said gently, pressing a soft smile onto my face. And I'm not Mrs. Callahan anymore. Thank you for everything. I walked out into the crisp morning air. My father's driver was already waiting at the end of the long, winding driveway of the Callahan estate. As I slid into the back seat of the black sedan, I took one last look at the towering stone mansion. It looked like a fortress, majestic, impenetrable, and completely cold. She actually left.
Wow.
Bold move for a side character. He's going to be so relieved when he gets back from his business meeting. Now he can pursue the real heroine, without the distraction. Honestly, good for her. Being a doomed villainous/sacrificial wife sounds exhausting. I closed my eyes and leaned my head against the cold window pane. It's over. I told myself. You rewrote the script. You survived the truck. If you're enjoying the story so far, drop a like and subscribe to Story Harbor. It helps a ton, and there's more coming. For the next 2 days, I locked myself in my bedroom at my parents' house. My mother tried to pamper me, making my favorite childhood comfort foods, while my father threw himself into his work, aggressively monitoring the stock market in anticipation of the Callahan empire retaliating against us. But, surprisingly, the blow never came. The stock prices remained stable. The news outlets were dead silent. Blake didn't call.
He didn't text.
It was as if I had simply ceased to exist in his world. By the 3rd evening, the exact day the 1-month trial period officially expired, Sherry dragged me out of bed. You are 23 years old, gorgeous and rich, Sherry declared, shoving an emerald green cocktail dress into my arms. You are not spending the official night of your singlehood rotting in a bedroom that smells of lavender and sorrow. We're going out, Sherry. I really don't feel. No excuses. It's a private lounge. Elite members only. No press, no line cutters, and definitely no brooding billionaires. An hour later, I found myself sitting in a dimly lit velvet-boothed VIP corner of the glass house, a high-end lounge catering to the city's young elite. The soft jazz and amber lighting were supposed to be relaxing, but my nerves were strung tight as piano wire. See, Sherry pushed a fruity, sparkling cocktail into my hand. No drama, just expensive booze and good vibes. I took a small sip, trying to match her energy. Thanks, Sherry, for everything.
Anytime, babe.
Now look to your left. Don't make it obvious. See the guy in the charcoal suit? That's Julian. He's an architect, 6 feet 2 inches in, and his family owns half the art galleries in the city. Want me to introduce you? No, please. I'm not ready for her. I froze. The air in the VIP section suddenly grew heavy. The faint chatter of nearby tables dropping into an uneasy hush. At the entrance of the lounge stood a group of men in tailored dark suits. But it was the man leading them that made the glass in my hand rattle.
Blake.
He wasn't wearing his silver glasses tonight. His dark hair was slightly unkempt, a few stray strands falling over a forehead that was tight with tension. He looked lethal, unrefined, raw, and utterly imposing. Beside him walked a striking woman with sleek dark hair, wearing an elegant white pantsuit. She was holding a leather portfolio, whispering something to him as they walked toward a reserved booth. The female lead, the real heroine from the feed. My breath caught in my throat. The feed hadn't lied. They looked like they belonged in the same tier of reality. Two powerful, composed people navigating a world of absolute influence. Look, it's the scene from Chapter 14. The hero and the female lead just closed the cross-board merger. They're celebrating. Wait, why is he looking over there? I pulled back into the shadows of the velvet booth, trying to make myself as small as possible. Don't look at him. Don't make a scene. Just wait for Sherry to finish her drink. And we leave, Gwen. Sherry whispered, noticing my paleness. Is that him? Don't look. I choked out, staring down at my lap. We're leaving now. I grabbed my purse and stood up, heading toward the side exit away from the main lounge area. I kept my chin down, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I made it to the dimly lit corridor leading to the private restrooms and the VIP exit. I reached for the door handle, desperate for the cool night air. A large, heavy hand slammed against the wood right above my head, shutting the door firmly before I could turn the latch. The scent of cedar, crisp rain, and heavy amber hit me instantly, so intense it made my knees buckle. Running away again, Gwen. I spun around, my back slamming lightly against the wooden door. Blake was towering over me, blocking out the light from the hallway. His shadow wrapped around me entirely. Up close, he looked terrible.
Dark.
Dark circles bruised the skin beneath his eyes, and his jaw was shadowed with stubble. The scent of faint whiskey mixed with his cologne. Blake? I gasped, pressing my hands against the wall behind me to keep from touching him. What are you doing here? Your guest. She is my legal advisor. Blake cut in, his voice dangerously low, vibrating through the small space between us. She has been working 48 hours straight trying to clean up the mess your father's old business partners left behind. I blinked, thrown off balance.
What?
The reason your family was facing bankruptcy in your little fantasy? Blake growled, taking a step closer until his chest almost brushed mine, was because a rival firm was executing a hostile takeover of your dad's tech shares. I've spent the last 3 weeks buying up those shares in secret to secure your family's safety. My mind stalled. The feed? The text had said my family would go bankrupt by his hand. You were saving them? I stammered. Whilst you think I was late every night, Blake's breath was hot against my cheek. His hands came up, resting on the wall on either side of my head, trapping me completely. Why do you think I smelled like cheap corporate perfume? Because I was stuck in 4-hour negotiation meetings with their female CEO, trying to force her to back off. Holy plot twist. Wait, he was saving her family the whole time. The text in her head was wrong. How is that possible? The floating text in my vision was glitching wildly now, the words overlapping and distorting like corrupted code. I thought my voice broke. The tears I had been suppressing for days finally spilled over, hot and silent, tracking down my cheeks. I thought you hated me, the text said. I don't give a damn about whatever nonsense text you keep talking about. Blake roared quietly, his composure finally snapping into a million jagged pieces. He leaned down, burying his face into the crook of my neck, his hot breath against my skin making me shiver. His arms slid around my waist, pulling me so flush against his hard frame that I could feel the violent, irregular thumping of his heart. You locked me up, Gwen, he murmured into my skin, his voice suddenly sounding fragile, almost desperate. You made me wear those ridiculous silk shirts. You cried every time I touched you, and I let you think I was cold because I thought if I moved too fast, I'd scare you away. His grip tightened, his fingers digging into the velvet of my dress. You thought I agreed to the 1-month trial to give myself an exit? He pulled back, his dark eyes staring down into mine with an intensity that terrified me. I gave you that month, so you wouldn't feel forced into a marriage with a man you barely knew. I was giving you the exit. But you don't get to use it, Gwen. Not anymore, Blake. I signed the final merger papers an hour ago, he whispered, his thumb coming up to catch a falling tear, tracing the damp path down my cheek. Your family is completely secure. You have no obligations to me anymore. No debts, no arrangement. He leaned in, his lips hovering an inch from mine, his voice dripping with dark, possessive intent. Which means if you stay with me now, it won't be a business deal. It'll just be because you're mine. My brain felt entirely short-circuited. The feed in my vision flickered violently one last time. Error. Narrative deviation 100%. And then completely vanished, leaving my vision crystal clear for the first time in weeks. There was no truck. There was no cruel billionaire waiting to destroy my life. There was only Blake, exhausted, desperate, and looking at me like I was his entire universe. You really don't hate my family's money? I asked, my voice barely a squeak. You don't think I'm annoying? Blake let out a dry, breathy laugh, resting his forehead against mine. Gwen, your father's new money is the only reason he had the guts to threaten to shoot me when I first asked for your hand. Old money families are boring, calculating, and cold. His lips brushed against the corner of my mouth, making my heart leap. You bring noise, tears, silk cuffs, and total chaos into my life. I haven't slept properly in a month because every time I close my eyes, I just see you. A sob of pure relief escaped my throat. But this time I didn't try to hide it. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him down to me. I don't want an exit. I whispered against his lips. I never wanted an exit. Blake's restraint shattered. His mouth claimed mine in a kiss that was desperate, deep, and completely breathless. All the distance, all the cold silence of the past month dissolved into blistering heat. He hoisted me up slightly, pressing me against the door, his hands possessive on my hips, as if proving to himself that I was real, that I hadn't disappeared. When he finally pulled back, both of us were breathing heavily. His cheeks were flushed, his eyes dark with a hunger he no longer bothered to hide. We're going home, Blake rasped, sliding his hand down to weave his fingers tightly through mine, locking them together. Now, what about your legal team? I giggled. A real genuine sound that made Blake's eyes soften instantly. They have expense accounts, he growled playfully, dragging me by the hand toward the private VIP exit, completely ignoring the stunned looks from the lounge staff. And I have a wife who owes me 3 days of lost time. The penthouse was quiet when we returned, but it no longer felt empty. The moment the heavy oak door closed behind us, Blake didn't even wait to turn on the lights. He pulled me into his arms, kicking his shoes off, and carried me up the grand staircase directly to the master bedroom. He set me down gently on the edge of the large bed, standing between my knees as he unbuttoned his collar, tossing his jacket onto the floor. No more secrets, Gwen, he said, staring down at me in the dim moonlight filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. No more hiding behind her phone. No more crying alone in the dark. I looked up at him, feeling a sudden surge of bold confidence. I reached into the nightstand drawer and pulled out the silver key to the leather restraints I had hidden days ago. I held it up, twinkling in the moonlight. And what if I want to keep you locked up again? Blake's jaw tightened, a dark, dangerous smoldering taking over his sharp features. He slowly sank to his knees in front of me, placing his hands on my knees, looking up at me like a devote at an altar. Then you locked up the wrong wrists last time, he murmured softly. He took my small hands and his, bringing them to his lips, kissing my knuckles one by one. I'm the one who's completely trapped, Gwen, he whispered, his voice thick with raw emotion. I have been since the moment I walked into your father's house a month ago and saw you sitting on the floor, laughing with a mouthful of corn dogs, completely uncaring of how the rest of the world expected you to act. He looked into my eyes, placing my hands over his hammering heart. You were never a fragile ornament to me. You were the only real thing in my entire life. 3 months later, the summer sun shone brightly through the glass dome of the grand ballroom at the Callahan estate. The room was packed with the city's highest society. Old money, new money, politicians, and titan corporate executives. My father was standing near the champagne fountain, proudly showing off photos of his newest tech development to a group of elderly lords who were nodding in genuine respect. My mother was happily chatting with Blake's mother about an upcoming charity gala. And I was standing on the garden terrace, wearing an off-the-shoulder emerald gown that shimmered in the sunlight, holding a glass of sparkling water. Mrs. Callahan. I turn around to see Blake walking toward me. He looked devastatingly handsome in his tailored charcoal tuxedo, his silver-rimmed glasses resting neatly on his nose. But the cold, distant aura that used to intimidate everyone around him was completely gone whenever his eyes landed on me. He wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me close against his side, resting his chin lightly on my head. Are you enjoying your party? It's wonderful, I smiled, leaning into his warmth. Though your mother keeps trying to convince me to host the winter gala. Tell her no. Blake grunted softly, pressing a kiss to my temple. Winter is reserved for our vacation. I've already booked a cabin in the mountains. Just you, me, and no phones allowed. No business meetings? I teased, looking up at him. Not a single one, he promised, his eyes darkening with that familiar, possessive warmth. I looked out over the terrace, taking in the vibrant green gardens, the blue sky, and the warm breeze. There were no glitching neon signs in my vision, no feeds, no doom predicting texts, and no trucks waiting in the shadows. The story wasn't written by some tragic script or an invisible audience. It was ours to write chapter by chapter every single day.
Blake.
I love you. Blake froze for a fraction of a second before his arm tightened around me, his lips finding mine in a sweet, lingering kiss right in front of the massive glass windows for all of high society to see. I loved you first, Gwen, he murmured against my lips. And I'm never letting you go.